So, hello to everyone. If you can please mute the microphones. We're gonna begin now. Okay, we're gonna start with a small introduction of everyone that's gonna be participating today. My name is Johan Reyes. I am doing a master's in conservation management at University, and I am from Honduras in Central America. Madiha, if you can please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Johan. I'm Madiha from Afghanistan. I'm studying diplomacy and international law at Lancaster University. And I welcome everyone to this platform. I hope that your families and friends are doing well during this challenging time. Whatever is going on in Ukraine and my home country in Afghanistan, those are really disappointing. And I hope that things calm down in the upcoming days and we keep the Afghanistan, Ukraine, and every conflict zone in the world in our prayers. And I would like to congratulate you all for making to this step and coming this far. It's a big achievement, and I hope that you ace your Chevening interview in the upcoming days. And I hope to see you part of the Chevening family next year, and I hope to see you in the UK as well. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yousif Al-Shibani. I'm doing mechatronics and robotics in Newcastle University. I'm originally from Libya. I'd really like to congratulate you all as well for reaching this milestone, and you're all winners. It's obviously everyone here who's reached to the interview stage has demonstrated a lot of leadership and networking and brilliance in their fields. So congratulations to everyone. And I really hope you ace your interviews and join the Chevening family as well next year, and maybe we can meet. I really hope that today's call would be beneficial for everybody and gets you more ideas on how to approach the interview stage. As well as Madiha mentioned, my hearts and prayers goes to everybody in the conflict zone, whether it was in Afghanistan or Ukraine. We've had a lot of Cheveners from Ukraine. My heart goes to them and their families for the conflict zone situation. And I hope you guys benefit as much as you can today. Thank you.
So, as mentioned before, congratulations. You already passed one of the toughest filters there is in your Chevening journey. So you should be proud of yourselves by being at this stage. Today, we're going to be presenting what some of the main points that we want to basically show you that you need to consider, and also some of our experiences. And I will begin. And so hopefully this is useful to everyone. And I bet because every Chevener in their hearts are people that prepare they prepare a lot. So relax, just think about the questions you want to ask, maybe write them down, and at the end, when we all present, you will be able to ask your questions. So again, my name is Johan, and one of the most important points, I would say is the most important point for me at least, is that you need to have a career path in your mind. Remember, this is a leadership program. Therefore, if you have in your mind where you want to aim, what's your goal, what's that thing that you want to achieve during your lifetime, if you have that ingrained in you and your spirit is strong enough to pursue it, congratulations. You already mastered the first big thing for Chevening. So in your mind, if your ideas of where you want to go are clear enough, you will be able to transmit that to the interview panel. Now, when I mention transmitting these ideas to the interview panel, please remember, this is your time to shine. This is the time to use this specific moment to show them all the things that you've already done and where is the direction that you want to pursue. So again, have a clear career path in your mind about what you want to achieve and show them. The second one is that every country is different and the context of your country is very specialized. Therefore, something that is really important in your country, it's gonna translate better to the interview panel. the interview panel will be the UK embassy nearest to your country or in your country. In my case, Honduras doesn't have a UK embassy, so it was performed by the UK embassy in Guatemala, and they know the context of your countries. So keep that in mind, the context, what you want to achieve, and put that in every single answer you can. Now, if you're able to transmit the need for your career path to the country, that's going to be, a happy days. It's going to be really nice for the interview panel, and they will be making questions to make sure they have this sensation out of you. The third thing that I will mention is one of the most important for me, at least, one of the ones that I consider the most, is that everyone has experienced their life, and you have experienced all these little bits and moments. Sometimes the smallest moments make your career path so diverse. But the problem is we tend to not be able to express them as easily because those things happen to you. So express yourself and don't be afraid to use examples. I know that sometimes, especially in countries like Honduras, like mine, we tend to be very humble about the things that we have achieved. Don't be humble. Shine like a star. Every single little bit, every single little moment, every single decision, volunteering opportunity, every single job, every single interaction you've ever had that is meaningful to your career path, show it. Demonstrate them that you know where you come from, and therefore you know where you are going. So have that in mind when you answer your questions. Try to sprinkle a little bit of, oh yeah, I've done that before, because that translates really well to the interview panel. Number 4, obviously this is the UK embassy. These people know what the UK is doing in your country. We might not know it. So keep that in mind. And if you can do the research beforehand, try to figure out what they are doing in your countries that is similar to your career path. Oh yes, I want to do some studies about climate change, and I've been working on this. Oh, the UK just committed a couple of million UK pounds to Honduras. So I would like to help in the transition of the processes of taking care of biodiversity by doing climate change studies and put a little bit of science into the public policies that are going in my country. You grab that the UK is already doing and try to connect it to the direction you want to do in your career. That's going to make them very interested. And the fifth thing that I would say that it's really important is that don't be afraid. This is your story and they don't know it. Therefore, why should you be afraid? It's your abilities. Just try to talk to them like they're normal people, because they are. So transmit your abilities as best as you can, and think in the back of your mind, these are normal people. These are people that have their own interests. And I'll give you an extra tip. Just between the people here, a lot of people like to talk. Very few people like to listen. And you will have the opportunity to ask questions at the end. Make sure to get them talking. Make sure to ask a question that piques their interest. That way, they will not forget about you because they talk to you. One of the most amazing things that happened during my interview, and that was the moment I knew I've done it correctly, is that I asked a question about the COVID pandemic to one of the people in the interview panel that I know she was in the UK during COVID pandemic. And I asked how tough was the struggle? What are the academic advantages? Because there are always advantages and disadvantages of being in the UK during COVID times. I didn't told her I knew she was in the UK during the pandemic. But she got really interested and she spoke for 5 consecutive minutes about it. That person now is a dear friend of mine, and she told me that's the moment I knew you actually prepare for this interview. You got me talking. So that's an extra tip. If you can, you don't have to do it, but if you're able to, that's gonna be really good. Okay. So thanks for hearing me, and I hope these little bits are helping you in your interview prepping. Now, because we are in 10 minutes, I'm gonna respect that. And Maria, if you can start your tips for all these lovely people.
Thank you, Johan. The points that you mentioned will make the people stand on the shoulder of giants. So it was really wonderful. Before starting my points, I would like to tell you that I applied for Chevening Scholarship 2 times. In my first attempt, I made it to the reserve list and my application was not upgraded. But in my second attempt, I got the scholarship. So I have done this interview twice and I have a double experience of the interview. And I hope that the points that I'm going to share with you that worked well for me, I hope that it worked for you as well. But everyone is unique, as Johan said. So you will have your own way of expressing yourself in the interview. My first point, I have written down the bullet points, not to forget. So I will be looking at my notebook a couple of times. My first step is that read your essays a couple or a few times and try to elaborate as much as you can on each paragraph and on details that you have written in your essays, because while writing your essays, you were restricted with 500 words, and I'm sure that you all have much more details to provide and much more examples to provide to the panel. So try to read those essays and try to remember the details and the examples that you missed to include in your essays. Try to have them with you and try to practice those examples. When you're asked questions from your essays, whatever it is, leadership, networking, studying in the UK, or career plan, you don't have to answer it with the same examples and same details that you have included in your essays. This is the chance to elaborate as much as you can and try to answer with different examples just to express yourself. Try to be mindful of the time management as well, because you will have 30 minutes to do the interview and maximum 40 minutes. While keeping in mind the time management, try to provide as much details as you can. And the second point that I would like to mention is that the panel will be consisted of 3 to 5 people. Those people will be program officers of Chevening in British Embassy who are nationals of your own country, or apart from them, you will have staff, British citizens who are staff in the British Embassy, and maybe 1 or 2 Chevening alumni as well. So the people in the panel know about the challenges, the fundamental issues that are going on in your countries, that your countries are facing at the moment. So while answering their questions, try to be honest and do not exaggerate, but you can be ambitious. While answering their questions regarding your career plans, and regarding the issues that you want to address in the future after completing your master's degree in the UK, you can be ambitious, but try to be honest with them, and try to be persuasive in your answers. The third point that I would like to mention is that try to make a list of the questions from your essays or out of your essays that you think you might be asked. You can Google those questions and you can find those questions in the weblogs of former Chevening scholars, or you can find YouTube channels that talks about these questions. I made a list of like 20 questions from my essays and out of the essays, and I found answers for those questions and practiced them beforehand. So what worked well for me, I was practicing those answers in front of a mirror, and it helped me to be confident in the interview. I was recording my voice and listening to my own voice a couple of times again and again to find my mistakes. But if you have friends and families that can help you in practicing and getting prepared for the interview, so go ahead for that. I didn't have that option. And apart from that, try to be clear in your career plan, because that's the most important part of the Chevening interview, uh, beside your leadership and networking, because you have to be persuasive, and you have to convince the panel that you are coming back to your country, you're returning back to your country, and you will be one of the best person in the country, in your field, to address the challenges that right now your country is struggling with. Try to be as much clear, as much to the point as you can, and do your extensive research on the issues that are on the challenges related to your field before going to the interview. So you can convince the panel. And so my fifth point would be, do a research about the social life in the UK and the extracurricular activities and events that Chevening will be providing during this scholarship year, because you will not be asked only questions from your essays. You will be asked questions outside of the essays. For example, you might be asked, what are you looking the most in the scholarship year to do in the UK apart from your studies? So you have to know the social life in the UK. You can get this information from different websites and from the Chevening website itself. Try to answer this question and make it relevant to the activities that Chevening is doing during the scholarship year. There are many events in the Chevening website mentioned that you can get information about that, and you can include them in your answers, in order to show them that you have done an extensive research about the social life in the UK and about what Chevening wants you to be as a scholar in the UK. And you have to indicate this, that you have gone through the website and all the activities of Chevening, and you know everything about Chevening. And just my last point, it's not a point, just a friendly tip for you. Try to be relaxed in your interview and try to overcome your nervousness. I was super nervous in the interview that I did in my second attempt, because it was in person in the British Embassy, and the first one was online because of the pandemic. Even the panel realized that I'm so nervous, and they were trying to calm me down, and they were asking me to focus on my answers. And you will have a glass of water. If you feel nervous, try to grab that glass of water and have a little bit of water. It will give you a few seconds to calm down and overcome your nervousness. So that's all from my side, and we will be answering your questions at the end of the session. Thank you.
Right. Hello, guys. I guess Johan and Madiha have really covered a lot of points. It's really hard to add upon like their contribution. For me, I think for an interview, not just for this Chevening interview, but in general, narrative works better than answers. So if you want to answer something, it's better to tell a story. So like in my instance for leadership, I answered with a story about something I've written in the essay where I expanded upon it. But also leadership has a lot of different facets, different aspects. So maybe the one I mentioned in my essay kind of focuses like on my ability to communicate, my ability to praise others and like get them aligned. I can also add another story in my interview to maybe showcase my innovation or to showcase my like willingness to try something unknown. So my advice would be for each question to prepare a narrative, and it's better to have one from your essay and one from outside your essay that focuses on different aspects. As for the leadership, same thing as for the networking, and same thing as for your career plan. The next thing is Madiha really focused upon that. The team in the embassy or the panel, they really have like a focus or know the issues, both social or economical, within your country, and it is it's very beneficial if you can tailor your career plan as to answer one point from the social or economical issues or other geopolitical issues that are faced in your country. Don't go too broad. No one can do everything. It's better to focus on one thing that by this education, by this experience, and by your plan, that you would make a difference, or you would make an impact on this point. About the interview, yeah, of course, they like to be relaxed and it's not really the end of the world. Whether you get selected or not, it's just to approach it as an opportunity. It's not really the end of the world, really. There are a lot of opportunities out there. So like, don't be too stressed about it. That oh, I really want to have this opportunity, because well, even if you didn't have it, the fact that you've reached this stage means you are brilliant. You are going to do great things. Just have this confidence and go in there and talk to them and try to, same as Johan mentioned, if you can find kind of to prepare for the interview and find kind of maybe social issues that are like right now being worked at by the team and the embassy, that would be brilliant. If you didn't do that, it's all right. It's just show your passion about what you do. Show how your past experience matches your future goals, and what exactly, like, try to be exact about it. What exactly this course that you're doing will impact your future goals? What skill, what knowledge, and what that knowledge will do in your career plan. Of course, be mindful of time management, and you'd definitely have time to ask questions at the end. I guess that like I've already mentioned that what worked for me. So I'm coming from a STEM science field, and I've talked about an issue which is faced in Libya, and my goal is to embody like technological knowledge within Libya. So that's like what drives me, what gives me passion, and I've managed to kind of convey that to the panel by having like kind of it's not a very detailed plan, but it's a very functional plan. So always, like, when you're talking about your story, just focus about like it's like subjective, it's achievable, and the time scale for it within your life would be actually possible. And if I guess one last point is, whenever you're answering a question, this is what I do personally. Whenever you're answering any questions, I start with the why. Like, why am I doing that? And then I'll start with how, and then I'll really end with what I'm doing. This is it for me. I hope like that would be beneficial for you in your interview stage. If you have any questions, we are more than happy to answer.
I have an idea, because we are going a little bit quick. So just to give us ourselves some catching up, what do you think if we tell them like what was the most amazing thing about the interview, either really bad or really good, like something that happened during the interview that you remember really well? Everyone on board?
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds like a good idea.
Okay. So I'll start. We'll do the same thing. So I just want to mention this as a way to show you all that they do know about your country context. So something that was took me absolutely by surprise. And if you know something about my country of Honduras and the last 2 weeks of news, that probably, obviously, there's more important things going on at the moment. So I'm not expecting anyone to know about this. But the previous president got arrested because of drug trafficking, and he is waiting to be sent to New York. And obviously, everybody knew about this. It was, it was one of those things about context that if you live in the country, you know about this. But you know what I was not expecting? I was planning on doing a very specific road of conserving biodiversity through legal protections. And one of the people in the panel actually asked me, okay, Honduras is notoriously known into these bureaucratic spaces to be a little bit corrupt. So what would you do to overcome that challenge? And at that moment, I was so surprised that but obviously you prepare for these type of things, that I mentioned that I don't need to deal with that level of internal corruption because conservation management it's international. Therefore, international treaties that are signed by the country are above national law and therefore can incur in fines. The problem is if you don't have the data, if you don't have these conservation priorities in place beforehand, you cannot apply fines. And let's remember that wherever the money goes, those are the incentives. So I was so dumbstruck by the question, and I remember it very well because they know about the context of your country. And sometimes we think, oh, well, this is a Chevening interview. They will not ask hard questions. If it is needed, they absolutely will. And that is something I will never forget about my interview. Maria.
So what I remember from my interviews, it's a little bit funny and I think a little bit stupid answer. It was not from my essays, but one of the panelists asked me that, what are you going to miss a lot about your own country during the scholarship year? So my country has a good weather, and we experience 4 seasons in different ways, and actually in good ways. So if it's warm in the summer and later spring, it doesn't get cold at the same time or at the same months. But you can experience 4 seasons in a single day in the UK, and you don't get much of the sun in the UK. So because I did my research before the interview about the weather, the social life, and everything in the UK. So I just told them that I'm going to miss my country's weather because we don't get much sun in the UK. And so the panelist, who was a British citizen, he just laughed and said that, yeah, you're right. You get a lot of sun in Afghanistan, but you don't get it in the UK. That's what I remember from my interview. So my point is just you can answer some, like, you can be a little bit funny in your answers that are related to the questions outside of the essays, and you can make the panelists laugh. That's a point to make them remember you, and it might be a good option to for being shortlisted after the interview.
For my interview, so just like Johan said, they really are much aware of the context and within your country, whether from social or governmental. The one that struck me hard, and I found it very, like, I actually did not answer this well. So I'm really interested in entrepreneurship, and I'm really interested in embodying the technology within my country. And one of the interviewers asked me, "What are your plans? You say that you want to embody a certain technology and start this business. What are your plans to combat the corruption of having, because most of the assets in the country, or most of the companies, are really state-owned. What are your plans to combat the corruption of, like, let's say, your clients, which is basically state-owned companies, to import from certain, like, offshore, instead of doing business with you, even if you have like a good service or a better service." So that really struck me hard. I mean, because they're really aware that there's like a lot of corruption within the government, and how everything's subsidized and how everything's dealt within Libya. So that really struck me hard, and I tried to answer that by just having the idea of the context of what I want to do, to make it local, because, like, I want to create this company that makes these products for like the for certain services in the technology, and like my idea is to have everything in local language, and to have like the manuals and like for us in Arabic, and to have service centers within the country, and that would kind of makes it like it's our own, it's like it's ours, and makes it easier for me to like to reach out to my clients. So it might not be the best answer, but they definitely have a lot of knowledge within what you are proposing.
Perfect. Thank you, Madiha. Thank you, Yousif, for those amazing experiences also. And that's one of the points that we want to transmit to everyone here. Every interview is going to be different. There's obviously some questions that are common and they're general questions, but every interview is different. And therefore, whatever we mention worked for us, but you might need to tailor it to your experience, because at the end of the day, this is your Chevening journey. This is your experience. So because this is your experience, we want to hear your questions. If you have any questions, what we're going to do to make it a little bit more easy going is that if you can raise your hands, and Madiha and Yousif, if you can please help me just pick up the people that raise their hands, that you have specific questions, and then we arrange who has the most experience to answer them, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
That works? Okay, so if anybody has any questions that you would like us to answer, we have almost an hour, so we do have time. If you can raise your, digital hands, and we will be answering questions now.
We have just a couple of questions in the chat as well, so we'll be answering
Oh.
it, I think, at the end, maybe.
Yeah, so we have David Alegría at the moment. So David, you can unmute yourself if you're allowed to, I think, and just ask your question.
Hi everybody. Well, I am from Peru. I have two questions. One is a general one. This is when you have the interview, you gave all your examples of leadership and networking. For instance, in my essay, I have 3 examples for every for networking and leadership. So I was wondering if I have to tell the 3 examples or just one, and probably expand that just one example. And the second question is for Johan, because basically I am applying for also for a conservation master in the UK. And how do you connect the conservation area with the priorities in Honduras? Because I mean, at least here in Peru, most of the things are related to climate change. I have tried to connect that both areas, but not specifically something related to conservation area. So basically that are my 2 questions, and thank you for the opportunity.
Madiha, would you like to answer the first question? Because I know you mentioned this a little bit when you were doing the points.
Yeah, definitely. So my opinion for you would be to go with one example, because you won't have much more time to explain all 3 examples, but try to be clear, to the point, and as much persuasive as you can in just your one example. You can a little bit merge your examples if they are relevant to each other. For example, the examples that I wrote in my essays, they were very much relevant to each other. So I kind of merged them. But the thing that you have to focus on it is to manage your time very well and be persuasive while expressing yourself and telling your example.
And with regards to your second question, one of the things that, because you're from Peru, I'm going to say Latin America in general, even though every country will be slightly different on this, we lack data. And something that I was absolutely surprised when I started my master's here is that they have data going back to the 1500s. So here in the UK, they have almost everything done. So you have all these massive amounts of data to work out priorities. in Latin America, this data is not that well developed. So if you want to go into conservation in Peru, think about what type of data is your country lacking to make better decisions. If it is climate change, because honestly, that's very, I'll say, sexy right now. Everyone is thinking about climate change, but in the context of your country, that might not be the most important thing. So if you have a place, a location in mind that you think, oh, this place is not being conserved good enough because of X, Y, and Z, think about how would you approach it? How would you personally think like, oh, if I have this data, I could actually make better decisions? As I mentioned, climate change is one option. Biodiversity is another one. Social conflict is also another one. A lot of people in conservation think about prohibitions. Oh, we have a problem with deer, so we are just going to make a season where you cannot shoot them. But sometimes people in these public policies tend to forget that's the livelihood of these people in these communities. So think about what's the data that you would like to know to make better public policies for Peru. And that might help you integrate it to what you want to do. And that will be my advice. But obviously, there's multiple ways of answering your question. That's just my personal way to see it. So I hope, David, that that your answers are that your questions are answered. Sorry.
Guys, I think Mustafa has really asked a very good question. What can you add to the UK through Chevening, or what will be your contribution to Chevening Global Alumni Network in the UK and your home country? You guys, would you like to answer one of them, or?
I would say you go ahead.
Answer it.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, this is actually the toughest question I had when I was preparing for my interview. I struggled a lot with that. My advice is to be honest in what you can do, and the idea is to kind of to expand the network within your country, to get the name of Chevening or what Chevening achieves to a broader range. That could be advocating, that could be collaborating with other Cheveners to have kind of international programs that kind of tackle the same issue, whether it was a social issue or a climate change issue. So the idea is how are you as a Chevener going to be a bridge with other Cheveners across the globe, and that's how you can kind of contribute to the Chevening Global Alumni.
Excellent way to incorporate the Chevening network. We forgot to mention, Chevening is not a one-year thing. You will forever be linked with every Chevener from every country, and it's one of the most amazing ways to network. So, and the UK actually the UK embassies in your country will actually track what you've been doing after Chevening, because you are going to be part of this network. And when they think about what they can do in your country, they will try to match your experiences to what they want to do. So excellent way of looking at it. So I have a list of 3 people that have raised their hands. I will start with, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your names correctly. Mi Young, you don't have your hand up anymore, but I just want to make sure if you would like to ask your question.
Yes, thank you so much, Johan. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Actually, one of the questions has been answered. It's regarding how we can benefit the Chevening as an alumni. But actually, there's another question that has been on my mind is that I'm not sure whether this question was being asked during one of your interviews. It's about like how we could cooperate with other community members beyond our country as an alumni when we return to our home country. So do we answer the same way as how we want to answer that how we can contribute to our local community, or it would be another approach that you would advise us to answer? Thank you.
Who wants to answer?
You can answer it, I think.
Okay, I'll do my best. And Yousif, if you also, or Madiha, if you want to add to it, more than welcome. The majority of the universities that Chevener supply are really international. So, and you will be with peers. So with people that have the same thoughts as you, the same, maybe not the same career paths, but same directions. So networking is vital just because you will never know where talking with someone will lead in the future. And honestly, the most amazing experiences in my career have been moments that are so tiny and minuscule that looking back, it looks almost like a miracle that something came out of it. And I don't know about Madiha and Yousif. I will expand it on it like this. If you're really driven and passionate, believe me, you will find driven and passionate people. And if you can bring them to your country to help you solve problems, some of these people might actually take your offer. So if anyone wants to expand on that, more than welcome.
Well, for me personally, because I'm really interested into entrepreneurship, and I've been part of an NGO for a while back home. So one of the things about Chevening is I've actually been in contact with like-minded persons, just like Johan mentioned, who are really interested within entrepreneurship in a kind of similar context. So what I've done is we've actually had like a couple of meetings, and I've linked some of the people I work with in my NGO back home with some of the people from like their projects and their NGO, and we're kind of developing these plans to have kind of events that are simultaneous happening at the same time in different locations, and kind of to incubate projects or to provide training. So the Chevening in this context have really helped me in reaching out to people doing kind of the same contextual work in a lot of places. And by us collaborating together and having our efforts in one direction, and having like the campaigns and the social on the existence of social media kind of concentrated at the same time, we'll be able to reach more people and be able to have a bigger impact. So that's one of the things how a network of Cheveners have really made a huge impact into the work we do back home and the work that everyone does in their home country.
So just to add to what Johan and Yousif have said, not only Chevening, but your universities, they are international universities, and they have a lot of networking opportunities for you. You can meet a lot of people in your universities outside of your classes, and you can interact with them. You can talk about your ideas, your career plan, and hopefully you will find people of the same idea with you and the same passion that you have, and they might be helping you to tackle the challenges that you're facing in your field in the country. So try to broaden your network as much as you can, even if it doesn't need to be only among the Cheveners, the Chevening scholars. So you can broaden your network in the university with other people as well. And for the question that was asked about how can you contribute to Chevening and to Chevening alumni network, volunteerism is one of the important aspects in the UK. So you will find a lot of charity organizations in the UK that they are based and on volunteerism, and volunteerism is very important for those charities. And Chevening itself has a volunteer program that you can work voluntarily anywhere, anything you can do in the UK, and you can record your hours of volunteerism during your scholarship year. So what I want you to focus on your answers while answering this question, focus on volunteerism, because it's very important, and this is something that you can give back to this community, because Chevening and the UK community, the UK government is investing on you to achieve your dreams. They are giving you the money to get a quality education in the UK, and you have to do something in return. And what you can do is to volunteer in the UK and help people that need your help.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to give more time to other questions. I'm sorry if I butchered the name. Celine Uma.
Yes, thank you very much. There's this question that really is disturbing. It says, demonstrate how your course choices will help you achieve your career goal. Now, do we have to demonstrate all the 3 course choices, or I can concentrate probably on my first choice and really demonstrate it well, how it can anchor into my career choice? Because it's kind of confusing. Thank you.
All right, brilliant question. The way I would approach this, I would say that even though the course kind of name or course context might be different, but I would focus on the kind of context that your courses must have in common. So you must be interested in something, and that knowledge would kind of the knowledge that you'll gain through the masters, all the skills would fit into like kind of a building block into your next stage, into your next plan. So you might not answer the specific course, but you can answer the context of that course, answers or that course gives.
I would like to expand on that because most of you will have never heard about the university I am in at the moment, Edgehill University. And actually, what you mentioned about expanding on the skills that you're going to get from these courses is relevant to the decision I made to come to this uni. So I'm just going to use my experience as a sampler for your question. I was applying to 3 unis. The first one is Queen Mary in London. Second one is Aberystwyth, one of the biggest one in Wales. And the third one, a very small university in a town in Ormskirk near Liverpool. And I decided to come here because the specific modules that were included in the master's student plan. So if you can read on the modules, read on what are the skills that you're gonna get from it. And remember, it only has to make sense to you. The decision of university is a very personal decision. You don't have to go to the most shiny university. You have to go to the one that's going to harbor your skills the best. So mention like, oh yeah, this one has this module that I would really love to, but at the end of the day, you have to make a decision. So try to not waste a lot of your time praising every single one of the courses that you've decided on. At the end of the day, you want one in a specific. So you don't have to expand in every single one, but at least focus on the one that you're the most interested. And why? Why do you want to go there? UK is filled with amazing unis. Why do you want to select that one?
I think we can move to the next question. I
Yeah.
hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Hi, Rani Easter. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay, okay, good. Can you hear me? So my question is like, if you are asked about our current achievement or as a leader, is that okay to mention our achievement that which is not related to our current profession or to our career plans? Because now actually I'm a teacher, but I'm getting involved in foundation like which is related to mental health issues like rehabilitation center. So I do my part in that organization, and we have like to that current achievement.
I think I will go and answer your question. If your example is about your leadership, if it is indicating your leadership or networking skill, you can go ahead with that example. But I think what I suggest you that you will find a way to relate your example to whatever you want to do in the future and you have done in the past, and whatever your field is. Just think a little bit more about it. You can do a brainstorming and find a way to connect them, because if you have all of your aces and all of your examples interrelated to each other, that will make you a strong applicant. But if you cannot, so you don't have to actually to answer it relevantly to what's your field and what you want to do in the future. It's just a suggestion that if you can, and I'm sure you can do it, just think about it, because there is always a way to connect your experiences and whatever you want to do in the future. But if you cannot do this, so go ahead with your example, but try to express your leadership and networking skills as much as you can in that example.
I would like to expand on that a little bit, and it is that even though the experiences are might be different, the skills are not. You have a very specific set of skills that will be translating to whatever thing you're doing. So if you can, let's say, mention that you're networking, it doesn't really matter that much that it is in your field or not. It shows versatility. So you might want to show them that you are versatile in multiple directions, but you know what you want. And these skills have translated to your personal life. I was also a teacher for 2 years before, so I can tell you, because I was a high school teacher for 2 years. I was doing what I loved on the side. And sometimes we have to do things that we don't fully enjoy. But oh my God, did I perfected some skills, patience being one of them. So it is absolutely translatable. Focus, I would say, as Madiha said, just try to integrate them if you can. But if you cannot, focus on skills. Those are translatable to whatever thing you're doing.
Yeah, so the second person is Hamza Abdullah. If you can unmute yourself and ask the question, please.
Sure. Thank you, panelists, for your great presentation. I have a question that is specific to leadership. So, in leadership, I believe that to have a strong response to their questions, we need to also tell them the kind of impact that we have created. So, I just wanted to understand from any of you that does that impact really need to be, in terms of how many people whose life you have actually improved, or it can be in some other ways as well, because since one of the panelists was talking about the need for data for decision making. So what my work is developing digital solutions for data driven decision making within the government. But since it's a very recent experience, its benefits are envisaged in the long term. So in the short term, I don't know if the impact in terms of the number of people affected will be the strongest point of this example. So if someone can elaborate on that, thank you.
Right, Hamza. Yes. So you might not have like the full data for how many people were impacted, but your experience does have leadership. The way you have kind of stepped forward with this idea and how you convinced and communicated with other people and got different stakeholders to align their efforts into one common goal. That is a great example of leadership. And you can expand upon that and you can tell about your personal experience and how you approach that from the beginning. While the results might still have some time to kind of come to us or appear, but the way you have managed to align different efforts into a common goal, that is basically the definition of leadership. if you guys would like to expand upon that.
I would like to just add one sentence that if it's an example for leadership, you don't have to express that how many people are really impacted by your leadership. But if it is networking example, you can do it if you have that, if you have impacted many people, or you have a number, a figure to indicate, because networking is how you interact with people. And if you have as much people as possible around yourself that have been impacted by the example that you're telling them, it will make your answer strong. For example, in my essays, I wrote an example of publishing a book that was related to a law in my country, and it was the interpretation of that law in the country. So I didn't do that alone, but I worked a lot to get that that interpretation of the law published. I had a lot of efforts to do that. And I just and after publishing, I tried to distribute that publication around the country, and I worked hard for that. So I was elaborating and focusing on that part of the example, that I tried a lot to send this publication to the corners of my country, to get people read that publication and know about that law, and to practice it. And I think it was one of the strongest points that I mentioned in my example, and I told them in the interview as well, because it that publication impacted a lot of people. I just wanted to show them that I have it has been very much impactful. So in networking you can do this, but you don't have to, but you can do this. In leadership, feel free. You have to just express your leadership skill in those examples. Thank you.
I will expand a little bit, and then we're going to go to the next question. But basically, sometimes, and I committed this thing myself, we forget that impact is not only measured by numbers, because you can impact one single person or one single institution, and that will be very relevant. So make sure to, as Yousif said, focus on that skill, focus on that leadership aspect of it, because if you made a real deep impact with these policies, you will continue making impact. So if you tell a number, that's just a moment in time. But if you tell them that you're able to do this, that is your entire career. So it's more relevant that you're able to do it more than just the number. So that's something to think about, and if it works out for you in the just mentioning it, that's okay. But I would focus more on you're able to do these type of things, and in your entire career you will be impacting a lot of people. The number is not that relevant. So we're going to continue with wait, or maybe I'm repeating because I've been deleting names, but Joshua Hamlet, or was that the person we answered the question?
No, Joshua is the next question, yeah.
Oh, Joshua's the next question. Perfect.
Hi, pleasant good day. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you very much for having this session. My question is twofold. The first part of the question, my field is a bit specialized. I want to get into arbitration, and it's tough to have, I guess it's tough to explain the connection to empowering one person to become that on a wider scale. So I would like to get some guidance on that. And the second part of my question is, apart from the final answer, well, apart from the final questions you have given to your panelists, what else did you do to leave like a lasting impression at that tail end of your interview? Thank you very much.
If you want to answer the first part, if you guys want to answer the first part, I can answer the second part.
I was thinking exactly the same, if I'm 100% honest. Madiha, are you fine that I try to answer the first one?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, we have to keep this in mind. And when I was a teacher, I'm going to use a little bit of a lie that I used when I was a teacher. I was teaching on doing research protocols. My students suffered. I'm really sorry, but I actually teach them statistics and everything. They actually they could actually publish some of the things that they did. But what I want to mention is you are the expert. So if you know what you want to achieve on the long run, even though you're struggling on defining the importance of it, you kind of know what is your role in the long term. So focus on career path. Maybe you don't need to show them a very intricate moment where arbitration is needed, but maybe you can tell them the impact that you're expecting to have. So as you mentioned, if it is really niche, the person that needs to show them the importance of it is you. And if you have a very clear mindset of what you want to achieve, just tell them why. Why do you want to achieve this? Oh, effectively, because if I go into arbitration, I could be able to do this, this, and this, and change these processes that are being done in my country. Or maybe you're going to be the first one that's actually specialized in a country, in a very niche topic. And therefore, everything that's going to be known in your country for this very specific thing will be your work. Maybe you inspire people to go into this field. So think about career path. And that's my try to answer your question.
Just to add a little bit more on your answer, I'm also trying to answer your question. It might be not very much comprehensive. If you right now you don't feel confident enough to answer this question to them, you can just do a research on this, like how much arbitration is going to be impactful or needed in the future in your country, and how you are going to use this arbitration opportunity to solve some of the problems in your country. So I think that if you feel like you are not confident in answering this question, and you don't know all the aspects of this, that how much it's gonna impact your career plan in the long run, so do a research about this. Try to find something. If you go and do a research and read some articles about this, I'm sure you will find good answers and good points that that you can elaborate more in answering this question.
So just to add about your final part, so the way I approach it is this. So you have a goal, something that you want to do, and whether you get this opportunity to be in the Chevening, yes, it can be kind of a part of a building block within your goal, but also you are doing this, you are pursuing this. It's not dependent on whether you get the scholarship or not. This is your goal. This is where you're gonna be. Now, if you get it, maybe you'll be there faster. Maybe you'll be there like with a better performance. Maybe it will have a bigger impact. But if you didn't get it, you are still going to be there. You're still working towards that goal. And that's my advice, I guess. Just try to convey this sentiment into the board, that you will not stop, that you will not slow down toward your goal, no matter what the outcome is.
Very well done there, Yousif. I think that's one of the best answers out of the three because it relates to something very important. Remember that the people are focusing on you. They don't actually care that much because I've talked to some of the people in the panel. They're like, oh yeah, we don't really want you to change that much after the year that you're going to be in the UK. They even prepare you for a culture shock when you go and when you return, because what they're investing is on your career. So if you don't, succeed on the first time, I didn't on the first time also. I did it on the second time. So they see that you're driven. They see that you're passionate. So focus on that. And if you want them to remember you, make them good questions. Make them think. Make them remember you. As Madiha said, make them laugh. That might be a good way of make them remember you. Obviously, you have to do the general things. But if you're able to, for a minute or 2 minutes, that they are the ones thinking oh, how am I going to answer the question? Or should I laugh or not? You will be remembered.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's go to our next question. Noor. Can you unmute yourself, Noor? Can you hear us? Right, let's go to the next one, just in case maybe there's technical problems. Zongao, I am sorry. Is it Zongao?
Yeah, it's Zoom. I'm sorry for my email. Yeah, thank you for today. Yeah, maybe the
Hello?
maybe the first one.
I'm sorry, Zongao. Can you ask your questions?
Yeah, okay. I have two questions. The first one is how did you answer or prepare for the question that what British values do you want to gain after the scholarship? And the second one for Johan is that if you fail after the interview round, did you get any feedback for why you failed? Thank you.
I think if I have heard you correctly, you were asking about the values that you're going to get after the scholarship year. So
Yeah,
my
the
answer.
British values. The British values.
Oh, the British values. Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of cultural aspects that you will be learning, in my perspective, that you might have not experienced it in your own country, because the system that you will be living in the UK for a year is a little bit different. It might be a little bit different from your country. I'm just giving my own example. I can say that my life has changed from A to Z after coming to the UK, because it's not just because of the Chevening, but because I'm from Afghanistan, and I suffered from the recent changes in my country. So it's a little bit hard to express this one, but of course there are some values that I have got during the 6 months of my of being in the UK as a Chevening scholar. Like just this can be a not a very important answer to your question or important point, but just a random answer I can say. For example, what's important when you go for shopping, like for example, when you do when you go to a restaurant to get something for food or anything. So you have to stand in a queue to get whatever you want. For example, this is not a culture in my country. That's just an example. So queuing is not is not a culture in my country. But before going to the interview, I did a research, and one of the important points in a website was that people always queue in the UK. So you have to be mindful of that, and you shouldn't be stepping forward if you have to stand in a queue. So this can be just a very simple answer to that question. If I were you, just find out, try to do a research on websites about the culture aspects, the social life in the UK, and compare it with those social aspects that is very much like try to find the differences between your country and the UK, and you can better answer this question that time. For example, if I go back to my country, so I will be queuing, not stepping forward before the people, because it's not a culture in my country, but it's a very important culture in the UK. I hope that I have answered your question comprehensively. It was just an example, but if you do a research on social aspects and compare it with those social aspects in your country, then you will be able to answer this question.
Would you like to say something, Johan, about?
Just that I'm not fully clear on the second question because I heard my name at the beginning. It's something about feedback, but I'm not very clear what the question was. Really sorry.
Yeah, okay. If you fail because you fail after the if you fail after the interview round, did you get any feedback for why you failed?
Oh, okay. So the first time I applied, actually, I kind of half-heartedly did my essays. So I was like in a rush. I didn't prepare my essays that well, so I didn't pass the first filter. In the second time, in the interview, I fortunately enough I got it, so I don't have that experience. But I'm not sure, Maria. You did this twice, right? The interview stage. I think you're better suited to answer this question. But feedback per se, I've heard that you don't have like that feedback, but you're better suited for this question.
I think you don't get very comprehensive and specific feedback for your own, but you can get a general feedback on your application and your interviews after you get the rejection email from Chevening. What I have experienced that when I was preparing for my second application, when I was writing my ACEs and when I was doing my interview, so at least 6 to 9 months will pass from the time that you will get a rejection email and when you and the time that you're preparing for your second application. So in this time, if you search weblogs that former Chevenings have written tips, and if you search for channels in YouTube to find out more how to do your application and how to do your interview, you will get to know what mistakes you have done in your first application in ACEs and what mistakes you have done in your interview. You will realize those points, and I think you will be able to address them in your second application. Even if you don't do that research, I think what worked for me in answering this question. So after getting the rejection email, because I already realized that I have done this mistake in my first interview. I have done this mistake in my application, and I'm not going to do this in my second attempt. So I think that's an experience. You have to experience it to know what's going on, and you will get to know it yourself.
I guess from my side, because I did actually apply 4 times, and I did go into the interview stage before and I got rejected. And once I kind of reviewed what I did in the interview and the difference between it and the time I was successful, I think it's just about bridging a gap that your career plan kind of covers in your context in your country. So the first time I did not kind of come to that part of the answer of how my career plan is going to benefit my country. I mean, what is the gap specifically? And the second time where I was successful, I actually covered that point. Like I talked about it maybe for 7 or 8 minutes. This is the gap. This is the problem. This is my solution. And my solution kind of fits the problem.
So we're moving to the next question. I do know, Noor, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, you had a question before, but I don't see your hand up anymore. I just want to verify that you want to ask the question. I cannot see Noor in the.
I think we don't have Noor anymore in the
Okay.
meeting, so we can go ahead with other people.
Yeah, with Ileana. So Ileana, if you want to ask your question, you're more than welcomed.
Yeah, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So hi, thank you all for your great mentorship. How did you manage time in the interview? Because I don't know. I mean, I'm really afraid about talking a lot. Just to answer one question. My question goes specifically to Johan because I'm based in the same country. So please, just that.
Okay, so I'll be 100% honest with you, and I will tell you that you have to be patient because sometimes the interviews, at least in Honduras, I'm not talking about the whole Chevening, interview course here, but basically they tend to be delayed because sometimes that even the people in the interview panel they overextend a couple of minutes. I was at the end of the day, I was programmed for like 3 p.m. My interview was like 4:15. So I will say that I was kind of an outlier here. Normally they will be very strict on the time. But the most important thing is practice. Practice. And I'm not 100% sure if you've written an essay before, like a full essay that you want to compress, not like 500 words, because 500 words in the essays that you submitted, it feels a little bit too constrained. But I'm talking about an essay like for a, let's say your bachelor's degree, that you have like 2,000 words or 2,500 words, and you have to think every word that I put here in this essay needs to be relevant. So talking, as Madiha said, to yourself in a mirror, think about what's relevant coming out of your mouth. If it is relevant and you take 5 minutes, so be it. But if you can shorten it, go ahead. And I will tell you something very personal. I kind of did the entirety of the interview like 5 days consecutive before my interview. And every single time I was answering myself this question, I looked like a crazy guy, by the way. My family was like, are you okay? But every single time I answered it, I started answering the questions really differently. At the end of the 5 days, I knew exactly what I wanted to tell them. And therefore, I was able to shorten all these ideas into something comprehensive. Now, don't memorize. Just have that sensation inside of you of, I know what I want to tell them. And when you're ready for that, believe me, you will not struggle in the interview.
Thanks a
Yeah,
lot. Thanks.
to avoid memorization of your answers, try to answer your when you're practicing in front of a mirror or with your friends. Try to answer the questions in different ways with different words, adjectives, and verbs every time, so you don't have to memorize what you're gonna answer in the interview. But practicing is just for that you make sure that what you want to say, and it will help you in managing your time. You can record your voices and then you can listen it back again and again and see how much time you spent to answer one question. That will help you a lot. I think we can go ahead with the last question, the last hand that is raised. I Baras. I'm sorry if I'm
Hi.
pronouncing it.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
I wanted to ask directly Johan. Johan, if I am successful to get Chevening scholarship, and if I want to go to pre-language course of my university, is there a possibility to go this course? Thank you.
To do a course where, sorry?
Pre-language course. Is there a possibility to go to pre-language course to your university?
I don't know, Yousif, Madiha, if you know the answer like 100%, but I kind of remember the Chevening information that they do mention they won't pay for that. So you will not be able to go to a pre-language as part of the scholarship, but I'm not 100% sure. So Madiha, Yousif, if you have more information, at least I know they don't pay for that time because you cannot come beforehand. You cannot ask for your ticket 3 months before. Actually, by the way, be patient. Be extremely patient. You've experienced this already, but patience in the Chevening process is the most valuable commodity you can have. You have to be patient. So Madiha, Yousif, if you have more information on this pre-language.
I think you cannot attend a pre-language course for your master's degree because Chevening's requirement is that you have to start your master course in October of each year and finish it in 12 months in September of the next year. And Chevening is going to pay only for that master course program, not for the pre-masters courses or languages. So if you feel less confident about your English, if it's not your first language, it's not first language for many of us, I think you will get the opportunity to improve your English during your master course. Because if I give an example of my own course and my own university, I have got the opportunity to, from university side, to improve my English, my academic English, either it's writing or speaking or reading in the university. It's just an extracurricular apart from my modules that I'm taking. So don't worry about that. You will have, when you, because you have to speak at least 85% of your time in English in the UK. So your English will be improved, and don't feel less confident about this. You will have many opportunities to improve your English if even if Chevening is not paying for that and not allowing you for that.
Yeah, I guess it's I kind of have the same answers. While Chevening is not gonna pay for that or allow you to come in advance, a lot of universities do offer extracurricular activities that to strengthen your English, whether it will be like kind of night classes or it will be incorporated within your timetable to improve skills such as speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So a lot of universities do offer that. Some universities offer like a kind of a language course that goes along with your studies. Some of them are paid, some of them are like free for students. So it really depends on the university that you apply to. You can search that. You can actually find that information on their website, whether they have a program like that. For me, in Newcastle, they do have a program like that, and where you attend like kind of weekly sessions that focuses on the skills: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So yeah, it is possible to improve that beside your course. I think it's time we can go to the next question. I'm sorry, Fee with Doc.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. My question is, I'm not sure you have answered this or not since I just came in. What was the most difficult question during the interview?
Well, we've told the one that was the most amazing, either in a bad sense or a good sense, in the interview process. I will tell you, they have a very good context in your country, so they are not afraid to do that hard-hitting questions. And obviously, this will depend on your field, but this will also depend on the internal politics in your country. At the end of the day, the level of things that you can do during your lifetime is limited. And it's limited by, obviously, your lifespan, but it's also limited by the people that surrounds you in your country. So if they can ask you something about how will you overcome something very difficult, they will. In my case, it was like, okay, you will have data and you're proposing these ideas about data, but how will you handle the corruption that gets involved in the bureaucratic processes in your country? And honestly, there is a way to answer that. For time, I will not repeat it. But basically, if you have this sensation that they will be asking about something specific to your country, they will probably will. So don't think that they will be polite in the sense that after all, it's the UK embassy, right? They have information about the context of your country. And if they see that you might be struggling when you come back, they will ask a question like that. Yousif, Madiha, if you want to expand on that.
I think the most difficult question for everyone will be different and unique. It depends on who you are, what you want to study, and what you want to do in the future. So based on the answers that you will be providing to them, and based on your answers on your application, the things that you have written in your essay, they will try to find something to challenge you, and it will be different for everyone. For me, it was about my leadership, and I'm kind of person who cannot express myself very well, and I feel most of the time I feel humble, and not humble actually. I feel like, okay, I have done these stuff in my life, but these are not important. These are just random stuff that everyone can do. I see some small achievements in my life in that perspective, and I struggled in elaborating and being very much confident, being not too much humble in answering the question about leadership. So that was a little bit difficult for me, but I think it will be unique for everyone.
Yeah, I guess my advice is, as Madiha and Jonas mentioned, it's going to be unique. So I think the best course of action is read the essays and try to be critical on your essays. Try to kind of find gaps within the career plan, within how your leadership fits into that career plan. Kind of put yourself on the other shoe, put yourself on the interviewer's shoe. Try to be very critical, and that kind of thinking would kind of like would spur you some like questions that you can prepare for in advance. And you can also ask friends if you have one of your friends who are a critical thinker. You can just ask their help, and they will and they will give you like a different perspective into your essays, which can be very beneficial for you.
So the next question will be Tina. Can you unmute yourself?
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for the very informative talk. I asked my question in the chat box, so if you could just disregard it. My question was about the questions for the panel. Do you think it would be better to ask a more casual conversational question, maybe about UK culture, UK practices, or destinations? Or would you recommend something a bit more serious, demonstrating how much we know the program? Thank you.
I'd say both. I would say having a live question, especially at the end of the interview, is going to be really good. Kind of develop a human side of the interview. And as Madiha and Jonas mentioned, if you can get them laughing about something, if you can like talk about like even like a 2-minute conversation about something kind of fun, or something that is kind of casual, I think that would make a really good impression.
And what you need to focus on answering on asking a question to the panel is that try to ask kind of question that you think they will remember you. So remembrance is the most important point. You will ask even if it's funny, if it's serious, it doesn't matter. Both of them can work for you. So try to ask kind of questions that that they should remember you when evaluating the answers that you provide in the interview, and when they are making their decisions. They remember that you have answered, you have asked the question in a unique way, and they might say that, okay, this person is going to be a Chevening scholar next year. Try to make something that they should remember you.
I would like to add also that you can ask funny questions or something general, but at the end of the day, if you do have a doubt, that is the moment to ask a real question. So if you have any questions with regards to timing, with regards to what's the experience like, with regards to, can I meet other people from the Chevening network, or whatever you want to ask, that's the moment. So if you want to make a good question, like to make them remember you, and you're able to, go ahead. But if you legitimately have a doubt, because this depends on you and the country where you're in, if you have a doubt, that's the last moment to ask. So because of time constraints, and I'm not sure if Teams, because I don't use Teams that much, will Teams close the session just because it is programmed with 1:30? If not, will everyone be okay with a couple more minutes?
I'm not sure about this. While we are getting next question, I can ask DR about this, and let's make sure if it's gonna happen.
Well, I think we will find out if
Yeah,
it closes.
I don't
So,
think it does. I don't think it does. I've been to a couple of I've used Teams a lot. I don't think it does.
oh, perfect. So, would you like to continue with the next question and
Yeah,
just hope for the best?
yeah. Davis, yeah, you can start. You can start.
Do you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My question is, I've met with leadership with question at which says, tell us about your time you made unpopular decision. What did you learn? So how can we answer this question, type of this question at all panel?
Well, if you want, I can start with that. I think we all will say different things. So, Davis, the path that you're in at the moment, only you know it. And you know what the most important things in your career. Don't focus on the bigger impact. Think about the biggest impact for your career. This moment, I wanted to start X, and I did Y, and it has led me to Z. So try to find in your life, in your experience, what are these nuggets, these little moments, these little decisions that actually made a change for your plan? What has catapulted you into achieving things? And also, how have you helped others do the same? Maybe you talked to someone and you gave them an idea, and that idea developed, and that idea actually help them in something. At the end, leadership is defined differently, but it is all about the impact that you're doing either to others or to your career path. So try to think about it. What have you done? What moment was it where you thought, oh, I did this correctly?
Thank you.
Can we move to the next question? Maria?
Hello. Thank you for this and for your time, and congratulations for achieving this award. I have one question: is that what would you recommend for us to answer the question about tell us about yourself? Thank you.
Well, yeah, that's kind of a common question that's going to happen in any interview, actually. It's not just the Chevening interview. It's just about your life story. I mean, you can share your life story, your experiences, and what drives you. Like, I mean, every person has a different passion, has a different drive. That what gets you out of bed every morning. Like, I want to do this or I'm gonna do that. Right? Just talk about your passions when you try to tell someone about yourself. I guess that that's what I would answer.
Yeah, I agree the same. Just start with your passion and you will make them impressed of your passion, because everyone has a unique passion, and try to be impressive and persuasive while telling about your passion. This is when they ask, tell us about yourself, it's your passion that describes you. So just to start with that.
I agree, and if you can, it's your story. So think about what would you like them to know about you. In my case, I'll give you an example. I talked about all the struggles that I went through achieving the things that I already achieved at that moment, because that was relevant for me. That they understand that even though I've done these things, it was not easy, and I was that passionate about it. So it's your story. You want to transmit something. Think about what you want them to know about you, because it's your moment. We're gonna go to the next question, and I'm sorry, I can definitely not pronounce your name. Really, I don't want to try. I don't want to offend you because I will probably butcher your name. Can someone try? I literally cannot.
We can just say the letters. It's ADOMBAFF. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay. Oh, my name is Adam Bafo Collins. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure. My question is not necessarily about the interview. That's actually the interview questions, but I had an issue like this in booking my interview. I am from Ghana, but I saw the interview they presented was for Benin. I don't know whether that was a mistake. That was what I found in the portal. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah.
When you booked the interview, can you
Yeah,
repeat that?
so I for the interview I found Benin Chevening scholarship, but the type I booked I was to book was for Ghana Chevening scholarship interview. But that was what appeared in the portal. Yeah. And because of that it was virtual. I don't know whether so I don't know whether it's a mistake because I don't think a Benin scholarship can appear in one for Ghana. Did you understand me?
Just to be 100% clear, you are in the portal and you cannot book your interview because you cannot find it.
No, I can book an interview, but the interview type presented is Benin Chevening scholarship. But after booking, yeah. So, but I am from Ghana. Do you get me? Yeah. Okay. You let me trying to. But after booking, the mail I received proves that I've actually booked for the interview, like for Ghana, and it's virtual, not in person. So I don't know whether because it's virtual, that's why they presented it as Benin Chevening scholarship. Because I know that for the past years, I know that the people in Benin sometimes are interviewed in my country. You see, so I don't know whether that's why they actually made it Benin Chevening scholarship, so that people from Benin can also book from. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I will tell you that when I did my interview, I had a similar question because ours was going to be virtual, but they actually mentioned a specific venue. So we were all asking, are we supposed to go or is it in person? You will be contacted. I'm sorry. Well, you will be contacted by a person in the embassy before your interview, way before actually. So they will give you more information if there is a mistake or if this is something relevant. You will be contacted before the interview. So don't be afraid and just maybe check, just double
Yeah.
check.
So yeah.
And
So
if not,
that's how it shows. I'm reading from my portal. Yeah. So I have an interview reference number, cohort year 2022. Award name Ghana Chevening Scholarships, but schedule name is Benin Chevening Scholarships. You get it? The schedule name.
typo or something like that.
Yeah, maybe it could be. But
I mean, at the end
for
of the
the
day,
for the
we're
instruction,
all humans.
yeah, for the instructions, they are saying interview will take place via Microsoft Teams, and you'll be interviewed by staff from British High Commission Ghana. Do you get it? Yeah, and I am from Ghana.
I wouldn't worry too much about this because, as Johan mentioned, sometimes they do mention a specific place venue, but they are aware of the situation. And like for me personally in Libya, they did mention a different country, Tunis, but I did my interview online virtually from Libya. So and somebody did contact me before the interview. So even if it says a different place, most likely it's going to be virtual, but they will contact you if there's any change of plan with enough time.
Yeah, so just add to the answers that have been given. I think because we're not familiar with the places that you have, and Benin. So my advice for you would be to raise an inquiry with Chevening or with your British embassy if you can find the contact, just to make sure that you're going to do your interview in person or online, or if there is a specific place to do the interview. Try to find a contact from British embassy at first hand. If you couldn't get an answer or couldn't find a contact in the British embassy website in your country, then you can raise this inquiry with Chevening and try to get the answer, the exact answer, before your interview, just to make sure that where and how you're going to do your interview.
Oh, okay. My problem is not whether it's virtual or for I know it's virtual because since 2020 when the COVID came, they've been having virtual interviews. But my problem was the award name and the schedule name differed. The award name is Ghana Chevener Scholarships, but the schedule name is what is the question I was asking. So I don't have a problem with the place.
It's more likely a typo or something like that. I mean, at the end of the day, some people do make mistakes, and the people that do this are working for the embassies in our countries, and they might make a mistake, but they will make sure that these type of doubts are answered before the interview. So just relax on that part. If there's a mistake on their behalf, you will know the answer soon. Okay. So well, thank you for your questions. I'm not sure if there's anybody else with a question, because Davis, I'm not sure if you already made your question before. I do think so. I'm not 100% sure.
I think he did the question.
Yeah. Well, in that case,
we have a couple of questions in the chat box that are different. I'm going to read those questions, and we will try to answer it very briefly because we don't have time and we are running out of time. So the first question is, do the officers make questions about the academic program that I have chosen? My answer for this question is, if you have a Chevening alumni of the same field in the interview, they will not going to ask you very technical questions, but just a little bit technical question they might ask you just to make your answer clear, to help you make your answer clear. But there won't be very much academic and technical question of your field. That's what I have experienced in my interviews. Do you guys have any answer for this, Johan and Yousif?
Yeah, I do agree. I don't think the questions will be very technical, but they will be tailored as to answer why this course exactly.
So the second question, and correct me, Madiha, if I'm mistaken, how much time should we ideally take to answer one question? That's the next one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it highly depends on and where you want to put the emphasis. You have a limited amount of time, and they do have questions that they want to ask. And believe me, if you're extending too much, they will ask you to stop. So they will not allow you to just continue, and then you have zero time. They will probably tell you like, oh, can we move to the next question? But at the end of the day, it's your decision which questions you want to ask, in a more complete sense. I would strive for 3 to 4 minutes, depending on the complexity of the question. Just make sure everything you say is relevant. If you're starting to talk about, oh yeah, and when I went there, I met this person, and this person introduced me to this other person, you're talking too much. Just mention the relevant moments, the relevant beats that they're asking. Yousif, do you want to read the next question?
I'm sorry, because I think the next question was already asked by Tina.
Yeah.
What is the next question? I'm sorry, because
The next question is from Mustafa, and I think we have answered that. What would be your contribution to Chevening and alumni? So there's a question from Sanjana. If they ask a question like, can you influence the opinion of others? How will you answer? Just need some idea. My idea for you would be, if you have influenced a person in your life, then you can answer and elaborate on that. So it depends on your passion. I'm sure that if you have a passion, a vision, and a mission in your life, you have influenced people in that sense. Just try to find that, brainstorm, and find that exact time of your life that you have influenced people. Everyone has influenced someone in some kind. Just try to find it. Do you guys have anything more to add?
I would mention also that it's not 100% of the time that you will be able to change the opinion of a person, but you can align your interest and their interest to a common goal, and that is equally as relevant. So if you're able to work with someone that doesn't have the same opinion as you, but you have similar goals, that's also very relevant to leadership. You will, the majority of the times when you're working as a group, we will have divergent opinions, but we will all work together to get things done. So just another way of answering that question. By the way, Madiha, Yousif, I was sent a message by the DIA that there's another session tomorrow that if you all want to join the other sessions to ask more questions, it's available to you also if you had more doubts or something else. And I have no problem finishing the questions. I'm just wanting to ask Madiha, Yousif, if you're okay with it, or if you would like to cut it short.
I think we have just a couple of questions left, and perfect. We will be able to answer those questions very briefly. We have answered Tina's question about asking a casual or more serious question. The next question is, my university has requested an IELTS certificate to provide an unconditional offer. Advice, please. Yes, you have to provide an IELTS certificate because if English is not your first language and you haven't done your previous studies in English, and your courses in the university's website will have the clear requirement of IELTS or TOEFL that you need to get the score, and for each component how much you need to score and what should be the overall score. Check that, and yes, this is a requirement. You have to meet it. Chevening doesn't have this requirement because Chevening has waived this requirement after 2022, after the pandemic, and they don't require you to submit them an IELTS certificate. But because you have to submit an unconditional offer to Chevening, this is the requirement from your university, and you have to take an IELTS test. I think we can move to the next question.
Just a tip about that, because I've had a similar situation. So totally dependent on the university that you want to do your master's in. For me personally, I didn't have to do an IELTS test because even though I did my bachelor's in Libya, the language of the course was English, and I only had to prove that by having like kind of official documents from my previous universities sent to Newcastle University, and they accepted that as a replacement for IELTS or TOEFL. So if the language of your previous course was taught in English, doesn't matter where you're from. If you can send them that, a lot of universities do accept that.
Okay, so the next question is from Rusa. How to answer the difficult situation one came across? My answer to this question will be, it depends on your experience. How have you overcome to solve that challenge that you have faced? Just try to put it in words. You might be struggling in putting those in words because it depends on your skills, how much your skills have been improved. But if you have come across a difficult situation, what have you done in that moment? Try to remember it and try to answer it the way that it has worked that time for you. I think it's unique for everyone, and the difficult situations that we go through in our life, that's different for everyone, and everyone has a different answer for this.
My intake on that is be honest, and your answer doesn't have to be glamorous. Your answer doesn't have to be a perfect answer. It could be something a tough situation that came across your life, and you handled it. It doesn't have to be like kind of an award-winning story. My tough situation that happened is I had to stop when I was doing my bachelor's. I had to stop studying for 2 years to take care of my family, and that was really that tough decision because I graduated kind of late, 2 years later. But you kind of, when you tell the story, try to, yes, this is a difficult situation. This is what I did, but also talk about the positive sides. What did you gain from that? Well, for me personally, I used to be a very shy person, like in school, in my bachelor's degree, very shy person. Uh, but having to stop, and actually, I worked for 2 years to kind of support my family, and having that work experience actually changed me. I was more outspoken. I can better communicate with people, so that's an upside of a difficult situation.
I would like to add something Yousif mentioned that is really important, and it is that we are not expected to be perfect. We are not expected to have all the solutions to all the problems in our fields. And it is okay to mention that, oh yeah, I have these ideas, but also that's the reason I want to go and do a master's degree or an LLM or other type of masters. That's the reason I want to go to the UK, because I want to learn how to do this stuff. I want to know how to approach these problems. And that is also valid. And be honest. If you came across something in this panel that we are having here, this discussion, is that you have to be very honest with your interviewers. You have to prepare, yes, extensively if you can. But at the end of the day, it's your story. This is your skills. This is your journey. And if you have doubts, first self-reflect. Self-reflect a lot. How did you come out of the difficult situations in your life? What are the skills that you've learned? And more importantly, how do you plan to apply these skills to that career path that you have in mind? I think, and this is my personal opinion, and Madiha, Yousif, you're more than welcome to differ from this, but they're investing in what you're able to do for your country, but also in the story that you've been having in your life. And why do you want to aim to that specific thing that you're proposing? And it is okay to say sometimes, you were lucky sometimes. Well, don't say that to the panel though, but it's okay to self-reflect and say, you know what, I was lucky, and just appreciate and be grateful that you have this amazing opportunity to express yourself in those 30 minutes. Make use of it. You're all amazing. You're all into the interview stage. In the world, there's hundreds and thousands of people that have failed in the first step. You are, at the moment, the chosen ones to be heard. Let them hear you. Okay? So that's everything from me. Guys, anything you want to add? Would you like to add something, Madiha, Yousif?
I think we should move to the next question because we have all of us kind of answered this question and we are running out of time. So the next question is what type of question one need to ask the panelists? We answered this. It can be anything that you have doubt about it, and it can be anything that make the panel remember you. The next question is, how do you draft a scholar biography? Can I see a sample? Would you like to answer this question? Johan.
I think there's a lot of like information and data online on how to write your scholar biography. In simple words, it's just should be um, like 4 or 5 lines, kind of introduction into you. What are you interested in? What do you hope to achieve? And what are like your social values or something like that? It's just a very small introduction to you. 4 or 5 lines, nothing major. And there are a lot of examples available online. You can kind of review and see like for different people and different fields. Their biography is available online.
Yeah, and I think it's not very much impactful on the outcome of your application and interview. Whatever they're going to decide based on is your interview, the answer that you're giving in the interview. That is kind of just a formality that you have to fill out the scholar biography before the deadline. Shall we move to, okay, I think there's no more questions. So the last question is just related to Rusa's question that we all addressed about the difficult situation that one can come across. Yes, so we are done with the questions, and I hope that our points that we mentioned are beneficial for you and will help you to ace your Chevening interview. I wish you all good luck for this amazing and interesting, exciting part of your life. And I hope that you get the scholarship next year. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for attending, and I hope we answered or benefited you in a way that will give you an edge in the interview. I really wish you the best of luck, and I wish you to see you in the UK next year as a Chevener alumni.
Well, thanks everyone. Absolute pleasure to help you with this, and you will be part of an amazing community. So we wish you all a lot of success. Prepare, but more importantly, remember, be patient. You will have to be very patient. Okay, so bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a good time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.